Hello, this is George Hutton, and you are listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. Today we continue our study of weaponized hypnosis. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/weaponized-hypnosis. In today's podcast, we'll be talking about defusing their energy. In assertive training, there is a technique called the broken record. This is when you state your case, listen patiently to their objection, and then calmly say, "Yes, I understand that," and whereby you simply state your case again. For example, if you are asking for a refund and you have your receipt and the product, and they give you any kind of excuse, you just say, "Yes, I understand that, and I'd like a refund." The reason it's called a broken record is back in the old days, they had these vinyl records that would sometimes skip, and a section of the song would repeat until the problem was fixed. The idea with this technique is that if you simply repeat yourself enough times, the other person will eventually give up. The way it's usually taught is that the other person only has so many no's inside of them. Once they exhaust all their no's, they give up and do whatever the original request is. When defeating any might makes right attack, the structure is the same, only it's a lot easier. If you ask for something and somebody says no, that doesn't require much thought. Even if they come up with an excuse, they are resisting a request, which doesn't take much brain power. You just keep repeating the request until they give up. However, when somebody is coming at you with a might makes right strategy, even if it's unconscious, they won't be able to resist any questions. They will be able to resist any might makes right response. Imagine the Chinese food versus Mexican food argument. If the Mexican food supporter had an equal amount of enthusiasm, the Chinese food zealot would likely welcome the fight. This is like Newton's third law that basically states all forces are equal and opposite. This is why simple disagreements can easily turn into fistfights. Each person continues to escalate, which causes the other person to escalate. This is why fighting fire with fire is only a useful strategy if you are absolutely certain that you've got a rocket launcher to their pistol. What they are not expecting is for you to ask them why they think their might makes right strategy has any might whatsoever. Talking about this in the abstract is very confusing, but in practice it is very simple. The trick is to simply ask them to explain how they came to their conclusion. It requires you remain absolutely calm and be as curious as possible. In reality, maintaining your calm will require a lot more effort than knowing what questions to ask. The questions are incredibly simple, and they work because they are based on very common human misunderstanding, and that is due to our embedded cause-effect generator. Cause-effect. It's believed by many that one of the mechanisms that gave our brains its speed that we got in exchange for accuracy was a tendency to assume cause and effect when none exists. Instead of seeing something and then taking a lot of time to investigate what that something meant, it was much quicker to make fast assumptions about what that something meant, even if those assumptions were wrong most of the time. Two cavemen see a yellow flower. One caveman assumes that yellow flower equals tiger and runs away. The second caveman is more of a philosopher type and goes on to investigate. However, the philosopher caveman only needs to make one mistake and he gets eaten by a tiger. Over time, all the philosophers will be removed from the gene pool, while the cavemen with the quickest cause-effect generators in their brains will be safe. They'll be wrong most of the time, but in the long game of evolution, being wrong is okay so long as you live long enough to make copies of yourself. Here we are today with a brain filled with cause-effect linkages that simply don't exist. So the idea is, when somebody comes at you with any might makes right argument, all you've got to do is find any implied cause-effect and ask them why they think it's true. They won't be able to. They might say something like, "It just is," but they will have run out of steam. They will be expecting an equal and opposite reaction, Newton's third law, and when you not only don't give them one, but instead ask them to explain why they feel the way they do, they won't know what to do. Orientation most important. It's tempting to get directly into the actual language patterns, which indeed are very simple, but they won't be useful. In fact, they may backfire if you deliver them with the wrong mindset. If you have any hint of a might makes right mindset when using them, they will have the opposite effect. Understanding that operating on a might makes right mindset is very ego-based and very instinctive. It's hard to undo it once it's done. It's best to spend some time cultivating a neutral mindset from which to deliver the linguistic patterns. The best way to do this is to force yourself to visualize the ideas people are trying to say to you. When somebody comes at you with a might makes right argument, it's already being projected through their nonverbal communication before any words are delivered. To keep yourself from responding emotionally, try some of these exercises. Force yourself to wonder what they are thinking. Train yourself to see people who are coming to talk to you or who are already in a conversation with you and see the ideas in their mind as actual images next to them. This is something that will take practice. The idea is to first hear the words and then use them to describe a picture and then respond both verbally and emotionally. One way to do this is to train yourself to look to their side when they are talking. While it is rude to look at something else specifically while somebody is talking to you, your device for example, but if you stare off into space and focus intently while listening, it will be clear you are listening to them in your own unique way. If you can avoid looking at them, you will have a much easier time not responding automatically and unconsciously to their nonverbal communication. Ease into it. One way to do this is to ease into the imaginary picture communication style. For example, if they are looking at you and speaking and you are looking at them and you find yourself on the receiving end of a might makes right suggestion, look to their side and force yourself to see a picture of what they just recommended. Doing so will help release any emotional energy that has been built up. This may seem a bit odd, but a lot of people communicate this way. It's also likely you will be perceived as a deep thinker, and most people will be gratified that you are taking their idea so seriously. At this point, how you respond isn't nearly as important as you start practicing this to-the-side gazing, which will eliminate any emotion from the conversation. Try with friends or even service staff until you get the hang of it. If you order a coffee and they repeat back room for cream, you can take just a second to look to the side of them, quickly imagine a cup of coffee with some room at the top before giving them your answer. Once you get the hang of this, it will be a quick and easy way to rapidly put on hold any might makes right attacks on your personal sovereignty. Once you develop this habit, a few seconds is all you need to deflate any of their aggression, no matter how covert or strong. I'm George Hutton. Thank you for listening to the Mind Persuasion Podcast. For more information, please visit mindpersuasion.com/weaponized-hypnosis. I look forward to speaking with you again soon.